Today's topic is: what was a don't get paid enough for this shit moment? I mean, I was paid minimum wage at the time, but I worked at a box store as a warehouse/stock person. Someone completely destroyed one of the toilet stalls. Shit everywhere. I was asked to clean it. I was like, LOL, no. We have overnight cleaners. Mark the stall out of service and they can deal with it. So that's what they did. No demands or repercussions to me whatsoever. I was like, dude, this is like biohazard level shit storm. I'm not cleaning that up no matter how much you're paying me, LOL. I work on diesel trucks for a living. Truckers are the nastiest people on the planet. Sometimes we make drivers get their trucks detailed before we will work on them because they're so disgusting. It's unreal how gross they are. Store manager asked me and a few co-workers, minimum wage workers, why we didn't chase after a customer that walked out of our bookstore without paying for a $100 textbook. Not only is that dangerous, but against company policy for virtually all retail stores in the USA. Because it's unsafe. Note that it's also against policy for our particular bookstore, in the employee handbook. I briefly worked at Jersey Mike's Subs after I lost a full-time job. Why I took it since the pay and hours were absolutely garbage, but they have the steak and chicken meat in boxes in the freezer. This lady decided to yell at me, a big guy mind you, for going straight from handling the box to cooking the subs, even though I washed my hands and changed my gloves as I was supposed to, and she did it while the store was packed. At the time I was also doing DoorDash, which paid significantly more than that job, so I just used the tongs that we used to grab the meat, grabbed a slab of the chicken and threw it at her, and then I just left. I felt so satisfied in that moment that I didn't care about getting fired since the job sucked anyways. Worked in a grocery store as a cashier when I was 17. When I saw people stealing, I always called a supervisor to chase after them. Ain't no way I was heading for that trouble or fight with a thief. Worked as a nurse's aide in a nursing home when I was in college. Typically worked on the full care ward. All residents were bedridden and needed assistance with all activities of daily living. The approved staffing model called for 1.5 nurses and 3 aides per wing. Sharing car for approximate 40 residents. Afternoon shift, which involves baths, distributing dinner, feeding, cleaning, removal of dinner, bed changes, turning residents X2 to prevent bedsores, and cleanup after inconstancy. So many staff called out that the actual staff ratio was 0.5 nurses and 0.5 aides. So we were essentially responsible 2 wards. Stretched beyond belief to say the least. We did our best. We never stopped but to wash our hands. The care those residents received that night was abysmal. The way those facilities balance staffing models for profit over care is gross. I quit the next morning. Minimum wage, first job at an amusement park. Tiny me trying to change a giant trash bag on a rainy day, when suddenly it springs a leak and I'm doused in trash juice. Simultaneously, a group of passers-by start excessively cat-calling and verbally harassing me. I was done, walked out mid-shift. A McDonald's regional manager I knew once told within earshot of other workers that anytime someone quits she knows they will be back within a month. I was like fuck it and quit a week later when she asked me to work openings at 3 a.m. because she trusted my work so much and I did a good job. I knew she was lying out of her ass and thought so low of us that we would amount to nothing. Worked in a dog daycare and boarding center. It was winter. The employee who closed the night before didn't bother to scoop up and poop in the potty yard. Temps were below freezing, so outdoor play wasn't happening, just potty breaks. I opened up to find a yard full of frozen dog poop. The girl who closed the night before was working but front desk, so it's like she was the supervisor for the day. She had me take a bucket of hot water outside to thaw the poop and scoop it, even though it was her fault. I did it. And then didn't come back again. I worked the first shift as a pet care specialist at a pet store one Saturday. I immediately discovered the person who closed Friday put something into the feeder fish tanks that killed almost all of the fish. Since some of the fish were still alive, I had to spend the whole day sorting dead goldfish from living goldfish. The guy who cleaned the floor was happy to take the dead ones to feed his alligator. In hindsight, it probably wasn't a good idea to feed an alligator poisoned fish. I used to work in the electronics section of a Walmart. One day a very irate customer came in screaming his head off because someone had sold him a digital camera that didn't have some feature that whoever sold it to him couldn't do. I let him yell at me for whatever it was, then when he was done, I said as calm as I could, cause I was so over it, that I was going to go find a manager for him to yell at instead. The next day he came in and found me, handed me a gift card and apologized for his behavior the previous day. I was a bit flabbergasted because customers don't usually do nice things like that, but I thanked him, and had a free lunch, so sometimes things do work out nice. Living it right now. I'm a plumber for industrial/commercial companies, so I'm used to bad smells. Currently working in a chicken rendering plant and the smell of death is awful. They only sanitize when something breaks, which can be months. Giving me PTSD episodes from back when I worked law enforcement and had to do death investigations. I'm not mentally equipped for this smell anymore. Too stubborn to quit on the spot, but plan to when I get the job done. My boss's wife belittling me and basically bullying me most days. I love and enjoy my job and every colleague there, including my bosses, but this one colleague makes me wonder if I really get paid enough to deal with often. IT work. Walking into a customer's house and immediately get swarmed with fleas biting my legs. The whole house coated in cigarette tar and trash. He had 13 cats, all with fleas. I politely left and went home for a decontamination shower and a change of clothes. Today. Last week was asked to open the store up today to help out so people didn't need to work extra, which I was happy to help out. Got given the keys, went to open the store this morning only to have been given the wrong keys and not able to get in, and shouted out by an old lady threatening to call her MP on me. Working at Amazon under a particularly bad manager. Never celebrated our team's successes, always criticized anyone and everyone for the slightest mistake or miss. He couldn't understand why the whip failed to bring about improvement and was happier bringing in fresh blood than developing the talent he had. Textbook of what not to do as a manager, let alone as a leader. So glad to change jobs even though it was a $60,000 haircut. I work in a call center. The old boss, who'd been there 20 years, used to turn the call volume down to only accept one caller in the final 15 minutes and asked coworkers to help those on the phone clear out the remaining calls until the designated operator just had to deal with one. That boss retired over a year ago. The new boss doesn't turn down the call volume, so at 1 minute to end of shift we still have a full queue. You have to beg for help, and if you're the only operator there on a Friday like I was 2 days ago, you end up staying way longer. My time after close is valuable to me, and if I miss my bus I spend 30 minutes waiting for the next one, 30 minutes I do not get paid for, and that's a 30-minute delay of my evening, 30 minutes I could have used doing what I love. When I worked at Burger King as an opener, there was one customer who came at 6 a.m. on the dot, the time we opened, to complain about the Whopper they received the previous night. They blew past the speaker, came straight to the window and proceeded to scream at me as soon as I opened it. I closed the window promptly and clocked out, LOL. Getting screamed at by a Karen because she couldn't return something, despite the receipt blatantly stating the return policy and she was past the date. Also, I don't work at the registers, I was just the first person she could yell at, I guess. One day I was working at Chipotle, and our entire online ordering system went down. Now people were still able to place orders, but we were not receiving them in store. On top of that, we started running out of ingredients. I had to manually write down people's orders on a piece of paper so I could go to the back and make them. It was a shit show. The person who trained me on the job was going on mat leave. She didn't train me on everything. I now think it's because she was scared might replace her. She trained me on 30% of the whole thing. After she left, I was figuring out everything. Even while staying back hours and helping out, I was getting talked down too. Felt like a school child at the principal's office. Remember missing a few weekends on a sunny day to catch up on stuff. Eventually I said fuck it, I got better things to do and left. As a barista at an unnamed major coffee chain, I double as a therapist. BC people love to tell baristas their life stories and traumas. I'm not mad about it though. I think a lot of people just need someone to listen, and I am absolutely glad to be that person. Working in residential care for young men with autism and learning disabilities. Walked in one morning and got slapped in the face before I got through the door. Got paid around $10.50 per hour for the pleasure.